Welcome to part 2 of the Family Learning Series, What Your Children Don't Want You to Know. This program was expanded through the Fountain of Life Center, one of our community partners. This segment will go deeper into the legal consequences that children and parents can face as a result of the misuse of social media. It will also provide more details about the dangers and caution parents should try to take in order to safeguard their children.
This is a public service meeting that we are doing this evening. One of the aspects or one of the core values of Life Center Academy is that we have some generosity and that we have some servanthood that goes out into our community. As you are probably aware, social media is taking our society by storm. If you do a Google search of dangers of social media, you will come up with page after page after page of things that are out there. I think as the headmaster, as an educator, as someone that interacts with pre-K through 12th grade on a daily basis, probably one of the scariest things that I will hear from a parent is when they say, my kid is really good, really smart with the phone, I don't know anything about it. It is incumbent upon us as parents, as educators, as individuals that have care for young adults, what I call adults in training, that we have the ability to have the knowledge that we can protect them as best as we possibly can from the dangers of social media. If you have experienced any of the things that are out there, you know that not only do we have some dangerous things, and you'll hear about the dark net tonight, you'll hear some of the things that happen with social media. One thing that we have to keep in mind is there is good that can come from it, but we have to protect ourselves from those things that could cause harm to our adults in training. Some of them do not have the ability to process the right or wrong. They live their lives on social media. And so we have an opportunity this evening to hear from some experts in the field, people that are dealing with this on a daily basis. And I am so pleased that you came out tonight to be able to hear this. To open up the evening, we have a short video for you to watch. So guys, if you go ahead and roll that video.
Series What Your Kids Don't Want You to Know. ABC's TJ Holmes has been opening a lot of parents' eyes, sharing a candid conversation between a group of tween girls and their parents about what really happens on their phones, and also revealing the anonymous messaging apps that predators may use. Well, now this morning, TJ has the latest on cyberbullying. Hey, TJ.
Hey, good morning to you and welcome back, Robach. You can't blame a lot of kids these days for rolling their eyes if you want to hit them with that sticks and stones may break my bones speech. Yeah, names may never hurt you if they say it to your face, but these days a name or an insult can be put online and it can go viral. That's a whole different monster. Now, there's no reason for us to believe that kids these days are any meaner than they've ever been, but they have new technology that allows them to spread that meanness around. School bullies don't have to corner their victims in the locker room anymore.
Do kids not give each other wedgies in the hall and behind the school?
We never have like one bully. It's always just like everyone talking behind everyone else's back.
Like most kids their age, these 14 and 15-year-olds from San Francisco love their smartphones.
Who's the worst out of the group?
This group of teens agreed to tell us how some apps and social media can expose them to an online world of insults.
How bad does it get?
At my middle school, there was like a lot of issues to the point where parents had to talk to our entire grade.
What kind of stuff do they say online and via social media that they wouldn't say to your face?
Like physical parents.
Saskia says she even quit one messaging app soon after joining because of harassment.
I got bullied on it within the first half an hour, and I deleted it the day after because I was crying.
A negative comment or two is one thing, but experts define cyberbullying as when someone is hurtful repeatedly and deliberately. In recent years, several teen suicides have been linked to cyberbullying, but experts caution that cyberbullying is almost never the sole factor in teen suicide.
Parents don't need to ride in like the cavalry and fix this problem. They do not want parents to solve this problem. They do need the tools to solve the problem themselves.
One tool is the new Google Chrome extension called Reword. It acts as kind of a spell check for native language, letting the writer think twice about what they're about to send and gives them an opportunity to change it. Meanwhile, our group is hopeful. It says teenagers are starting to take it upon themselves to police bullies.
This kind of sympathy almost for the bully now. And so you say, what is causing you to do this? It's not just you attack the bully, it's you want to make it stop, you want to make it better in the long run.
What a smart young woman there. This is
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Matt. I'm the youth pastor here, student ministries pastor right here at Fountain Life Center. And I'm a homeboy. I've grown up here in Burlington, Florence, my whole life, 29 years old. And I have a passion for working with young people. And like I said, I'm a homeboy. I have been here my whole life, and I want to see students, young people, not making the same mistakes that my peers did growing up. But it's a new age. It's a completely different ballgame now. So many different things that challenge them that never challenged us. Myself. I'm not old, but I'm definitely not that young. So, tonight as we dive into it, just kind of put your thinking caps on so together as a community we can empower our kids and protect their futures. I remember being younger, growing up here, riding on my brother's bike pegs down to Steeplechase when the plane crashed into the house, And I remember going on my primitive MySpace account and talking about this plane that crashed and finding a friend in Steeplechase that I never knew, even though I grew up here, because he had talked about the same thing, the plane that crashed in Steeplechase. Networking and talking together can happen at any moment, any given time, on anywhere on the planet. So now our students are faced with challenges, like I said, that we have never even dreamed of. And tonight, you're going to hear from two young men that I have come to know very well, who are incredible young men, very talented, highly educated, wonderfully skilled in their field. And I'd like you to welcome to the stage right now, Neil Dargy and Chris Adkins. Chris and Neil are Burlington Township High School students. They are seniors this year, getting ready to graduate, right fellas?
Yes, sir.
And they have bright futures ahead of them. So, like I said, put your thinking caps on and open your hearts too, because there's something in this for each and every one of us. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate that introduction. So everybody, welcome to What Your Kids Don't Want You to Know. We're going to talk to you a little bit about social media outlets, the social media networks that are used amongst teens nowadays, as well as the dangers that come along with them. My name is Chris Adkins.
And my name is Neil.
All right, so let's get started.
So before we dive into what we're going to talk about today, we have a couple of statistics for you from the Paul Research Center that we'd like you to just think about as we're going through our presentation. So 91% of teens post a photo of themselves, up from 79% in 2006.
71% post their school name, up from 49%.
71% post a city or town where they live, up from 61%.
92% post their real names to the profiles they use most often.
84% post their interests, such as movies, music, or books they like.
82% post their birth dates.
62% post their relationship status.
24 post videos of themselves.
And 93% of teens ages 15 to 17 have mobile access to the internet through their phone, tablet, or other devices.
So now we may think, this information that's going up on social media and on the internet, it's not that huge. It can't hurt somebody, it can't incriminate somebody, but in fact it can. Let me give you an example. If, for example, when you sign up for a bank account and you do online banking, a lot of times when you make your account, they ask you for a security question and an answer. And a lot of times those security questions are, what are some of your interests? What are your favorite books? What school did you go to? What town did you live in? So we don't know that this information, we think it's harmless, but in fact it can be used against us. That's what we're going to talk about.
So what are some type of social media used by teens today? We see Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Periscope, Kik. There are so many different ones. Today we're going to discuss the 3 important ones. We're going to discuss Facebook, Kik, and Snapchat.
So as most of you may know, this is the logo for Facebook. Facebook is the flagship of social media. It remains the most used social media outlet amongst teens and adults alike, and that's what we mean by flagship. It's the most popular. It's used by everyone across the board, and the reason for that is because it's so simplistic. It's easy to use. We have a profile that we're going to show you in a minute, and you can see that it's easy to navigate. Therefore, across the board, no matter what your age is, you can use it easily. It allows direct communication as well as isolated communication. Direct communication being I can directly send a post to my entire following, my entire group of friends, or I can send isolated communication. For example, if I wanted to send a message specifically to Neil, that message would be just between he and I. So as you can see here, we just have an example profile of a Facebook page. We actually took Pastor Matt's Facebook page. You can see he has some photos of himself, an intro, a bio, some statuses that he's posted, posts that other people have made and tagged him in, as well as his picture and some more information about him. So that's kind of just a basic example of the layout of Facebook. As you can see, it's pretty simplistic. You can kind of look at it and see what things are, where things go, and that's why it's so popular along the board.
And though we may think that Facebook is very naive, it can have its many dangers. Teenagers tend to share information on Facebook, such as their name, their statuses, their relationship, their check-in. So if they hang out at the mall with their friends, they'll check in, and now everybody in their friend list know that they're at this one mall. And how many of the friends that are on their list they really know? They might have just added random people they don't even know, just, hey, my friends list will just go up, I'll look more popular online, but they don't really know who's online and who's watching their every move. So for them to just check into the mall, now they're exposing themselves to everybody out there. People posing as somebody else. If you use Facebook, you know that there's an app called the Messenger app, where you can message back and forth. Well, a lot of people don't know is that you don't have to be friends with somebody on Facebook for them to message you. So if Chris is not my friend on Facebook, and in reality he's a 50-year-old man that doesn't have great intentions for me, and he starts texting me, hey buddy, I go to your high school, let's just chat. And now, if you don't really get around, you don't really know every single high school senior in your class, so you fall for it. And then you start giving away personal information and start talking in that sense. This is where we like to say your privacy settings are just as good as your friends, because there's a scam called the 419 scam, where if your friend's Facebook is hacked, they can send messages to you saying, hey listen, I was in London, I got mugged, and I really need some money, can you please help me out? And you being the good friend you are, going to say, sure buddy, I'll help you out, and not asking a lot of questions. You send money to somebody you don't even know. And that just ties back, if you've seen, most of you have Facebook, so you know if you've seen online where people post, hey, click this link, you'll lose 45 pounds. In reality, are you going to click that link and lose 45 pounds following those couple steps? No. You're either going to get a spam or your account is going to get hacked. So that's why we have to take all these things into consideration, and we have to think about who we're adding on Facebook instead of just clicking that accept button every time you see a friend request. And that's what we have to portray to our teenagers.
So this next icon is Kik Messenger. Teen Vogue described Kik as basically a chat room that allows users to anonymously message one another via usernames. Over 40% of teens use Kik, and nationwide they have over 200 million users. It's appealing because it's free texting. So I know a lot of times with kids, younger age, they have iPods. We don't allow them to have cell phones. But if they can use Wi-Fi, they can message another person. Kik doesn't need actual cell phone service. It just needs internet access for you to message other people. Along with that, if your child's cell phone plan only allows for so much texting, it's appealing to them because this doesn't go towards their text message usage. It only uses their internet, their Wi-Fi. So that's why you see it popular amongst teens because it's, in a sense, untraceable by parents. They can't see that they're making these text messages to people. They're only on the app sending messages to one another. Strangers can guess usernames and begin chatting. When you sign up for Kik, you don't need to type in any personal information about yourself. You just need to type in a username that you want to use to chat and a picture. So I can say I'm Brad Pitt and put a picture of Brad Pitt. As you guys can tell, I'm not Brad Pitt. But chatting with someone, they wouldn't know that. They have, I mean, obviously you can kind of guess that you're not chatting with that person, Brad Pitt, but you don't know for sure.
And just with Chris explaining what Kik is, you can see the dangers behind it. It has the potential to expose younger users to pornographic content. So as Chris said, you don't have to share your name or any information with the person you're chatting with. You can type in a random username, and with your luck, a user pops up, and you start chatting away. It's used by over 200 million people of all ages. And why is that? Again, you don't have to give any other information but your username and start chatting away. You could be, again, going back to my example, you could be a 50-year-old man posing as an 18-year-old, talking to a young girl, and the girl will fall for it, because that's what perpetrators are looking for, a girl with insecurities that they just want to chat away, and that's how they lurk them into it. Another reason why people use it is because it's a free app. You can just go to your Play Store or App Store and just download this free app. You don't even have to have a cell phone to download this app. You can either have an iPod Touch or a tablet or any naive thing you buy for your children thinking, yeah, it's naive, they're not going to be able to do any of this. Well, they can still download it. They don't even need a number. So if you could please click the article. So I have an article for you. I just copied and pasted it. It's just an example of what goes on with the Kik app. So federal investigators warned that the Kik Messenger app has exposed dozens of Grand Rapids area youth to unwanted sexual contact from strangers online. In at least one case, Michigan State Police say, a girl was sexually assaulted when a man she met from the Kik app traveled to see her. He goes on to say, this is not a toy, this is something very serious, the man told Target 8. The Kik app is getting very dangerous. The first thing that I thought was, wow, I can be whoever I want to be. I can get anybody I want. I can achieve my sexual glorification through this app. That's when I said, you know what, I have to stop this. Within minutes, a profile, and without contacting anybody, 2 people, purportedly teenage girls, reached out to chat. One of the teens had a profile name indicating her personal struggles, as I said earlier, and the sex offender started interviewing them and just asked what the perpetrators were looking for. That's when the sexual predator can jump in, like me, not me, the guy. I would jump in and ask, hey, what's your problem? Let's talk, the man said. I'd be their comfort and I'd be their go-to person. And then that's how these chats start. And the man is gonna say he's, again, a teenager, the same age as the female, and that's what happened in this case where he was a lot older, but still gained a lot of information and bouncing off her insecurities, saying, I can come for you, this, that, and the other, and eventually they actually met up. And you can see how dangerous that can be. So, with that, we're gonna go into Snapchat.
Yes. So Snapchat is a photo sharing app. It allows users to send photos or videos to friends that last up to 10 seconds and then vanish. And I do that for a reason, because we all know that once something goes on the internet or once something is sent out, it never actually vanishes. It will always be there. We're going to talk about that a little more too. It's more convenient than sending a photo over SMS or MMS. We see this in school a lot. A lot of times kids will just pull out their phones out of their pocket in class, quickly take a photo and send it to their friend. And with Snapchat, it allows them to do that with just one press of a button. It's easier than texting, because if you're just texting someone a photo, you have to now take out your phone, take the picture, open your text messaging app, and then send it to them. So it's a lot more convenient. Kids are able to be a lot more sneaky with it and not get caught in things in environments such as school. Also, for example, my school, we block social media accounts over our Wi-Fi. However, if a student's phone has a data plan, and all smartphones are required to have a data plan, they can just use that to access social media networks. So we can't combat it, and that's why it has to be talked about in the home, what's appropriate and what's not. Snapchat allows you to add friends by number by username or by vicinity. So for example, if I have Neil in my contacts, when I open up the Snapchat app, I can go in and see, since I have Neil in my contacts with his phone number, I can then quickly just add him to Snapchat. Or Neil can give me his username, I will then add him to Snapchat, and then we can start sending each other photos or videos. Or if we are in the same vicinity and we press a button, we both have to press this button to search for others in our vicinity, we can then add them that way.
And just going off of what Chris said, many parents think, well, my son/daughter's in school and, the school blocks all of that. Again, if they have data and if they have 4G and 3G, what all smartphones require, they can still access Twitter, Instagram, all the social medias out there, you name it. So Snapchat is named the sexting app. Why? Because snaps last 6 to 10 seconds, and a lot of teenagers think that it's going to disappear, right? And again, as Chris said, it's not going to disappear. What a lot of teenagers say, what's the harm if it's going to disappear anyway? Well, let me give you an example. I really like examples. So let's take a teenage relationship, for example, right? A teenage girl says, well, my boyfriend's pressuring me into sending pictures. He only said it's for him, and he's gonna delete them afterwards. So nothing's gonna happen, and he'll just love me, right? He'll stay with me forever, because we're so madly in love, we're gonna get married one day. How often does that happen? So, then, fast forwarding, this teenage boy decides to save these pictures. So now fast forwarding 6 months, and he decides he's gonna break up with this girl. And now, whatever happened, they had an argument in the relationship, now he decides he wants to get back at her. All of the pictures/snaps he can save, he can now send to other people, either his homeboys or either just around the school. And now think about the reputation of the girl and now what she's going through, because in that one moment she thought that, yeah, my snap's gonna go away, it's not gonna last forever. If you see on the screen, that's just a picture of the Play Store or the App Store. If you type in Snapchat, the first app is the actual Snapchat app, and then the second 2 apps are apps that you can use to save these without letting people know. So I can save a picture of Chris using these third-party applications without Chris even knowing that I saved him. So that's how careful you have to be and just using all of these social media accounts.
Yeah, and bouncing off of what Neil said, Snapchat kind of instills a false sense of security into its users. Now, when someone sends, per se, me any kind of picture, may it be a picture of a beach, if I screenshot that with pressing 2 buttons on my phone, screenshot that, it tells the person that I screenshot their photo. But I still screenshot their photo. It doesn't do anything about me having that photo. It's still there. It just warns them that I did it. When you use these third-party apps, it doesn't even warn them. They don't even know that I've saved that photo. So it's very dangerous.
So this transitions us into talking a bit about cyberbullying, and then we'll have our student resource officer talk in depth with that. So 7 in 10 young people are victims of cyberbullying.
37% of them experience cyberbullying on a frequent basis.
New research suggests that young males and females are equally at risk of cyberbullying, and that's because it's not that traditional, this one big boy targeting this one little boy, because everybody's behind a screen, so they don't have to worry about confronting that person.
54% of young people using Facebook reported that they have experienced cyberbullying on the social network. And that's also because Facebook is still the #1 used social media network amongst teenagers.
Twitter and Facebook are found to be most likely sources of cyberbullying, being some of the highest in traffic of all social networks.
And cyberbullying was found to have catastrophic effects upon the self-esteem and social lives of up to 70% of young people. That's a large majority. And these problems, they're current issues, and that's why we give this presentation, so that we can have the current knowledge to know where it's happening, when the cyberbullying is happening, and how it's happening. Albert Einstein once said, today's problems cannot be solved with yesterday's mentality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please welcome Officer Hazard, Student Resource Officer at Burlington Township High School. He's going to talk about the legal ramifications of cyberbullying.
I don't know if I can repeat all that. Officer Hazard. I work for Burlington Township Police Department. Been there for about 16 years now. I remember the plane crash. I think I've been working too long now. I've been assigned to the school district to oversee the crimes that occur within the schools. And the majority is going to be either cyberbullying or some fashion or form of bullying. But the cyberbullying is the majority of it. When you deal with cyberbullying, like they were stating, it's got to be a continuing remark or remarks. Saying a person is calling him a name for just that one time, it's not really considered cyberbullying, but if it continues over a period of time with the same remark or the remarks being said, that's when it goes into cyberbullying. That's what's considered a bullying situation. So we do have a lot of cyberbullying. A lot of cyberbullying is anonymous. When you're going to cyberbully, if I'm going to bully him, I'm not going to put Officer Hazard's bullying you now, and no, it's anonymous. So a lot of times it's very difficult to track back to who or where it's coming from. To give you an example, my office is in the high school, Burlington Township High School, and I have the kids, I have an open door policy, as they can say. Kids come in for anything, everything. Also, how do you shave? Do you go up or down? How do you do your tie? But a lot of times, I try to be there for them. So I had 3 young ladies come into my office about 2 weeks ago. And they were saying, Officer Hazard, I got this problem, I got a serious problem. I was like, close the door. The one says, 2 years ago I was on this account, social media account called Butter. And I'm saying to myself, what is Butter? Right? She says, oh, it was a social media big thing 2 years ago. All right, well, tell me your story. Well, this guy, he came across, he sent me a message. Did you know him? No. Well, why did you accept him as a friend? I liked his picture, and I liked his username. All right, so continue on. So she says, we started talking once a day. Once a day led to 2 days, twice a day, then constantly throughout the day, she says. And at that time, she didn't even realize that he's just gathering information, personal information. And this is what a predator does. He gathers in all the information about you, your birth date, whether you're in school or you're not in school, whether you live with both parents, and our kids are giving this information out, not realizing what he's actually doing. So 2 years went on. Her friend says, you know what? Let's switch to Facebook. Close out that account, and we're going to switch to Facebook. And she did that. Well, that person who had a mission and a goal to either do something got upset because she closed the account. So it took him quite a while to find her again on Snapchat. So, same username he comes up with, same everything. Sends her the message on Snapchat. Yeah. Probably. So he sends her a message, and he's making remarks as, why did you shut me out of your life? You're this, you're that, you're creep. He's just blowing her up with all negative remarks, comments, everything. So that's when she got alarmed, but she continued to entertain it. She's sending messages back, even though he's cyberbullying her, he's bullying her. And she has no clue who this guy is. No clue. I'm walking past your house tomorrow, so you better close your curtains. Your mom got a new car, I see. Just doing things that's frightening her and just taking her out of her person. At this point, I said, you know what? Block him. So she blocked him. But at this point, he already had the information. Now he started messaging their friends. Where's she at? I need her, I love her, all this craziness. Block them. So everything went well. I called the parents and said, look, your daughter's involved with something on cyberbullying, she's involved with Snapchat, something's going on, so you need to monitor her computer, her phone, everything. So she did that. He was blocked. They leave my office, they're happy, thrilled to death. 2 days later, she comes back into my office with the other two, and she says, he just sent me a message, an email. I thought you blocked him. I did. But it was a message requesting me to go onto the dark web. Now the dark web, or the deep web, is a internet browser, right?
Is this on? Here we go. A part of the web that you can access only through a web browser. Yeah.
So it's dark. So it's not your Google, it's not your Bing. You have to download an application in order to go into it. There's no identities, there's no
IP address.
No IP addresses.
Untraceable.
Mm-hmm. Everything's untraceable. That's why they call it the dark or the deep web. And it's true. So I'm saying to her, so she's saying, well, did you go onto it? Yeah. So at this point I was frustrated. Closed the door. Okay, what's on there? Because I never heard of it. And she was saying, oh, there's all kinds of bad things on there. I said, well, how would you know there's bad things on it? Apparently she was going, and this is our kids. Our kids are curious. She's going through the different sites and what's on there. And what's on the dark or deep web, this is where the predators are at. This is where we have the child porn. This is where we have the chat rooms. This is where we have Periscope of people doing bad things. So she's seeing this, and this is not good. Close the account down. Close everything down, and I had to tell Mom she is no longer allowed on the computers or anything else. So it's been going good, all three of them. But this is the things that our kids can get into. And these are the things that you're going to have to monitor. I can't be there 24/7. I can fix most of their problems, but it starts at home. The parents have to be proactive. You know, I take my daughter's computer and phone away constant. I check it constant. I give them a little bit of leg room. I give them a little bit of privacy. But when I start seeing them getting distant or acting a little funny, I go right to the websites, the media, and they tell me everything I need to know. So that's why I'm telling you parents, just to be proactive. To go into, hopefully everybody understands the cyberbullying part of it. Like I said, most of the time cyberbullying is occurring when there's an anonymous person. He's not going to give his name, and he's going to constantly give remarks. Now into the charges of things, the reason why I'm at the school is because of the investigations. Now if I'm able to find a person who is doing the cyberbullying, it can go into many directions. There's many laws and many things that I have to follow by the prosecutor's office. And it can stem from harassment to invasion of privacy to even to the worst thing, child porn, making the law list, all that good stuff. So we try to keep it at 1 and 2 as much as I can when we're dealing with juveniles. When you're dealing with adults, it's going to go to number 3 automatically. When you're dealing with juveniles, we kind of keep it around 1 and 2, harassment and invasion of privacy. And that being is because we don't want to put a child who's 15 years old on the Megan's list. If he deserves to be on the Megan's list, then he'll be put on the Megan's list. Now,
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. I just want to make sure our parents catch this. So you're saying as a juvenile, children can be labeled as a sexual offender?
Yes, a child can be labeled and be placed on the Megan's list. We do have children on the Megan's list. Now, their tiers Megan's Law is in tiers. So the tiers are going to vary, depending on the crime. So to go back to a child, now let me ask you this question. If your daughter sent a picture to her boyfriend, do you think the daughter would be charged? Yes. Because what is she doing? She's distributing what? Right. So a lot of parents don't know that. They're going after the person who's receiving it, but you have to go back from, you got to start from A. Oh, my daughter sent that. Okay. So now not only is your daughter in trouble, then the person she sent it to is now in trouble. And I guarantee he probably broke up with her after she sent the picture. That's what usually happens. And then he's going to send it to his boys. So all three will be in trouble. So that's why we had to, well, the prosecutors had to step back and say, we got to find a solution on how we want to charge these juveniles for doing these acts. We want to do this. So we have to find a way to how we can prevent them from going on the Megan's Law list unless it's necessary. But be accountable for your actions. What else did I forget?
I think just the differentiation between what it means to be a cybercrime offender and then a cybercrime victim.
Now, the cybercrime victim, obviously, is going to be more emotional. What entail are you?
Well, I would just say, like, when you become a victim and there's a cybercrime committed, it's now not only, especially when it's the sexual side of it, it has to be reported upwards, correct?
Yes, all sexual crimes must be reported to the prosecutor's office, who will make the decision. I'm not going to make the decision. I'm going to take the initial report. I'm going to gather all my notes, pictures, and I'm going to send everything to the prosecutor's office, and they're going to make the decision. What's best for that child, the victim, and the defendant, and whoever else is after that.
And then I would say the last thing I would talk about is the arguments that start online and then end up in the schools, at the mall.
We have a lot of that. We have a lot of the outside Snapchat chatter start outside, and it eventually ends up in school. And then at that point, we have to separate the students as much as possible. We have to print out the actual remarks, and comments that were stated. But cyberbullying happens every single day. There's not a day that I don't go through where I don't have a case or investigation to look at with cyberbullying, whether it was yesterday, today, or last year, and they're still upset about it. So we just, as parents, and I'm in the same boat, we have to be proactive. We have to check those phones. We have to check the tablets. We got to check the laptops. Please do so.
Thank you all for that. Please give them a hand. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I mean, it's a scary world. We're not talking about just even sending something that might be pornographic in nature, even receiving it, you can be charged. This is the world we live in. It's a very scary world. It's a very dark world at sometimes. And tonight, my goal is to kind of wrap all this up and to empower you as parents in our community to help our young people. And for those of you who might have just come in, my name is Pastor Matt Baldwin. I'm the Student Ministries Pastor here at Fountain of Life. I'm also a volunteer police chaplain with Burlington Township Police Department. And I'm a homeboy here, grew up right here in Burlington. I remember when the Burlington Mall was the place to be. And I remember when the original Chick-fil-A was in the Burlington Mall. And now all my dreams came true because Chick-fil-A is back here in Burlington. And I'm super thankful about that. Before we begin tonight, I just want to talk a little bit about the history of social media and the internet. In the 1940s, during World War II, the United States of America, the Allied anchor, the industrial giant, United States of America, the entire computing power of USA could be lined up in 16 flatbeds back to back. The entire computing power. And in that contained 4 megabits of data storage. Now, in my pocket, I have a USB thumb drive. Many of us is familiar with this. This is 64 gigabytes of storage. Now, size comparison, 16 flatbeds back to back, 4 megabits. 1,000 megabits equals a gigabit. 64,000 times the power of the United States during World War II could be in your pocket. And even more now, because internet taps you into libraries that are unfathomable. And we're going to talk about that tonight. In 1971, the first email was sent. And now it's a new millennium. It's a vast new frontier. So tonight, I want you to realize that we're not alone in this endeavor. We're here tonight as a community, as parents, as educators, as influential people, to make sure that our kids' futures are safe. I want to open up with a small story about a child who attends here at Life Center Academy. I'm pretty sure they were max age 9, probably in 1st or 2nd grade. Very tiny little guy. As I'm walking out of the office at the end of the day, the students were leaving and they were waiting at the carport for their parents to arrive, and I see this little guy, about knee high, reach into his backpack, pull out a cell phone and say, "Mom, where are you?" "I'm pulling up, I'll be right there." "Okay, thanks, bye." I said, I wanted to run up to him and scream like, "What did you do with little Johnny? You know, what did you do with him? Because you're too small to have a cell phone." This is the world our kids live in. Society has changed, culture has changed, language has changed, even the way that we communicate and get communicated to has changed. I'm sure all of our parents in the room, especially those of teenagers, have been presented with this question one time or another by your child. Everyone at school has one. I want one too. I hear the laughter, so I know I'm correct. I'm talking about the necessary evil of cell phones. There are clinical studies out right now that have just been released that show that our adolescents' minds, okay, are actually wired completely different from the way our minds were wired when we were born. They show that our young people will actually go through separation anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, when they're separated from their cell phone for an extended period of time. The reason being is because subconsciously they are actually viewing that media device as another appendage of their body. Or, even worse, an internal organ. Medical science is already looking into this phenomenon. It's a problem. It's real. Digital and social media is so immersive. It's so creative. It's so alluring. It's so captivating that even drug usage cannot tap into the portions of the brain that media stimulus can. And it actually has a chemical effect on our physiology. Because it's just as addictive, if not more so, than narcotics. If you don't believe me, try this out tonight. Go home, into your teenager's room. It's even better if they're texting somebody. Remove their phone from them and say, "I'm taking this from you just because," and see what their reaction is. Chick-fil-A on me if they say, "Okay, sure." I'm serious. These are issues that our students are going through today. Because you see what's at stake here for a lot of them is their image, their self-worth. It's completely defined differently than ours was. Their social prowess isn't dependent on their accolades in school. It isn't dependent on their good standing with the law. It's based off of likes, subscribes, retweets, shares, subscribers, friends, posts. This is how our students, our children, our young people's generation talk about their self-worth. So this means we can no longer ask the question to them, why does this stuff even matter to you? Because society and their culture has presented them a necessity of it even before we knew it was an issue. The world is not our world, or so it seems. There's a disconnect between us as adults and them, as young people, or maybe not. Our language has actually mutated in a way that 3 to 4 letters or acronyms can have a whole, complete, different conversational meaning with the addition of a picture of a cat or a dog or a smiley face or a carrot. And students, young people, can have a whole entire conversation without speaking one word in the English dictionary. This is our world. I mean, what is an emoji? Where did that word come from? Society has invented it. In fact, every year, Webster's International, they do a word study and they elect words to be put into their dictionary. Because language mutates, words generate. Last year, the word of the year was selfie. The very reason we are coming together tonight is because even the language and definitions of our time fail us when we try to explain or interact with our children. Their language is not our language. So the way that we define and understand what we are going to do is already flawed from the get-go. Thusly, we need to reinvent our thinking. Science has already proven today that our adolescents' minds are wired completely different from the ways ours were. Now, I'm not old, like I said, but I'm not that young either. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was in 11th grade, a junior in high school. And Facebook actually came out the year I went into college. And you needed a college-provided email address, a .edu account, to register for it. It started out as a college intramural, intracampus communication device. Now it's the largest social network and the most lucrative advertising space on planet Earth. Our children are taught from a very early age to respond to and to communicate through a digital environment instead of a more traditional one like we were trained in with a pencil and pen. Spell check has replaced the thesaurus, I always get that word mixed up, the thesaurus and the dictionary, and Google has replaced the library with countless volumes of information pouring into our child's lap with the click of a button. Now this can be a sinister challenge for us as parents. Pornographic content, sexually explicit imagery, and content that should never be in a minor's possession are always within reach without even leaving our homes. Online predators and the looming threat of giving too much information is a real and present danger. So how in the world, as parents, do we even start to dive into this wild world online? The point of this evening starts with empowering you as a parent. If you pay the electric bill, if you pay for the cell phone, if you pay for Comcast internet, if you pay for the roof over their head, if you're paying for the clothes on their back, you have every right, every God-given right to parent your child. More about that later. Many parents I encounter as a pastor, a teacher, a counselor, a coach, trainer, whatever you want to call me, they come to me and say this, Pastor Matt, my son, my daughter has a problem with A, B, and C, and now they've gotten into X, Y, Z. Can you fix my child? I truly believe that tonight, we don't need to look outside of the home to find answers for our problems. It starts with home life. And if we can reframe our view and interactions with social media and the digital media world, we can endeavor to make meaningful connections with our child like we've never had before. Now, I want you to be involved in your child's life, including the one that's generated online. A lot of us say, I don't know that, that's their world, I'll leave it be. But if we don't, as adults and parents, step into that environment and begin to understand it, everything sinister can happen when our eyes aren't watching. But don't be this. Don't be the helicopter parent. If you don't know what that means, I'll explain it. A helicopter parent is one that hovers over their child everywhere they go. Right? At the mall, walking 2 steps behind them. Right? You know, when they're at their baseball game, you know, they're looking through the fence. That's my baby. You know, don't be that person. Don't be the helicopter parent. But do be mom and dad. Now, instead, model for your child appropriate online behavior. Don't try to be cool. Just be mom and dad. Don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to befriend their friends, because that's just strange. Be who you are. Have your own friends, because there's adults just like you who would love to connect with you socially. However, there's a big difference between parent supervision and then parent surveillance. And Officer Hazard talked about that. When I say supervision, I'm implying that it's more personal. Not something that watches over me, but someone that's interested in what I'm doing. There's a big difference. Researchers have now found that most children will actually link their happiest childhood memories to a funny post online, a video that they saw on YouTube, or some other media-driven encounter with friends or family. Not your family vacation, not your second cousin's bar mitzvah. Nothing against my Jewish mother. But I'm saying this, your child, what dictates their happiness is completely different than what might dictate ours. I'm just saying the way that our young people think about togetherness is completely different than the way that we think about ours. What we might view as being disconnected or antisocial behavior is actually what people, young people, students, judge their connectedness on. The more that they pull away, and the more that they're on Facebook, and on their iPod, and on their laptop, is actually the more connected that they are with their friends. Thusly the term social media. Mind blown. Right? We might view it as antisocial behavior. Why are you being so antisocial? Why don't you just get out there more? The way they get out there is through the web. Again, the language that we use to talk about these issues has failed us. Even our premise is completely backwards. So in a world where up is down and down is up, how do we conduct ourselves? How do we allow or disallow children to behave online? Do we use scare tactics? Or do we use intervention methods? Or do we yank the phone away from them and lock them in the basement for protection's sake? Maybe we should be the ones that are helping them take the selfie at just the right angle with just the right light, so their Insta cred and their Insta fame can skyrocket. I'm just saying, key to a strong social media presence has and always will be the selfie game. The selfie game. What is the selfie game? The selfie game is this. The better you appear to somebody else, the more popular you are. That's just how it works. So when you see your son or daughter in front of the mirror for 30 minutes, and they took the same picture 5,000 times, what you can actually see is not necessarily something that's playful or cute, but actually a cry for attention. Be involved in your child's life. Ask to see the pictures on their phone. Again, if you're paying the bill, you have every right to do so. Even as I was typing this speech up, Microsoft Word actually tried to auto-correct the word Instagram 9 times, trying to change it to integral. And therein lies another issue. Even if you are the ones that are on the bleeding edge of social media, digital content, you will never be totally on the edge, because the edge actually doesn't exist. The edge is always moving and being shaped by the user's need for more relevant content to them, and the businesses want for more users on their social media platform. One tactic I can help you implement tonight and put in your parental toolbox is this: limit screen time. Limit screen time. If your child has become a digital recluse, limit their screen time. This means in front of their TV, their computer, their iPad or iPod or tablet of choice, their cell phone, their PS4, their Xbox One. All these things have internet access and access to social media. You have all the God-given authority in the world to do this, and if you're an atheist in this room, I'm sure Officer Hazard would say, you have all the right given by law to do this with your child, correct? Thank you, Floyd. Right now, and do you need your cell phones back? Yes, you do. Thank you, sir. But not all digital media is bad. Not all social media content is bad. I'm not telling you to run home and burn all your child or not all your children, all your child's social media devices. Give them to me. I will put them on eBay. I have bills to pay. So, digital media has connected us in ways that we have never been connected before. We can instantly FaceTime and video chat. I see YouTube videos of Marines who are in Iraq and Afghanistan and, Skyping or FaceTiming home with their wife and their son who they might have never seen. Social media should be something that drives us as family and community together, not drives a wedge in between us. Google to this day is the largest library of content ever created in the history of humankind. And it's all available 24/7, 365 at the click or press of a screen. Some of their server rooms are so intricate and so powerful and so large that they actually float barges on the ocean to pump seawater to intercool all their server rooms. We're talking about mind-numbing power. But we're also talking about mind-numbing need on our part for digital content. Like I said, digital content is actually addictive. So much so that Google invented new technology to support our need for wanting to be connected. The moral of the story is this: don't be a parent on autopilot. Our kids need us. When it comes to raising kids who will become healthy adults, we must allow freedom so that our kids can learn resilience, self-regulation, and responsibility for themselves. But with enough counterbalance of appropriate discipline and watchfulness so they know that they have a support system and a watchdog on guard if they need it. Social and digital media, like I said, should be something that drives us together as family members, as community members. We should be able to, in a year's time, look back on the wedding we attended with our family and pull up that information and laugh and like and share that photo again for old time's sake. Honestly, I think our young people are not the problem here. The real problem to our kids is actually other adults. And the reason why I want to say this tonight, and believe me, I have the purest intentions in saying this. The disgusting garbage that's pumped intravenously to your child's mind on an hourly basis. We can't act surprised when our daughter sends nude pictures to her boyfriend or significant other. Because when Kim Kardashian bared it all and exposed herself, we were the ones that liked it, shared it, and called it a freedom of expression. It's not a freedom of expression. If any adult in this room exposed themselves to a minor like that, we would label them as a pedophile. But for her, she's a rock star. She's a supermodel. And this is something our students look up to. I digress. Let me just throw this stat in there, just kind of lob this grenade out. 75% of students and teenagers have either sent or received nude images of their boyfriend or girlfriend. 75%. And this is a public poll. This is public stats. And this is the students that admit to it. Do you know what your child's doing right now? So how can I raise kids who will use digital and social media thoughtfully and respectfully? When kids see adults using social media, okay, to feel better about themselves or to gratify themselves, they are more likely to emulate the same behavior. If you complain online about your boss, they will do the same about you. If you complain about the political status of this society, they'll talk about their school administration. They'll talk about law enforcement because you modeled that behavior for them. You gave them the golden ticket to it. Just like we learned to read and write one letter and word at a time, the sea of digital media operates the same way. Our young people will only dive headfirst into a digital environment when they have tested the waters on numerous occasions without getting bit. Unfortunately, some of our more naive children and young people will dive headfirst into cyber tragedy without hesitation. Now let me get this straight. I am not law enforcement. I do not claim to be. I am, however, a partner in this community to see our kids successful, happy, and their futures bright and shining ahead of them. I'm here to help your students navigate through life without their timelines turning into tragedies. The world we live in is a crazy, scary place, especially for our young people. And that is why, as a community, we need to support, protect, and encourage our young ones. Let me stress this last point. If we aren't all talking the same language, with the same goal in mind, for us, for our young people, for our community, we will end up self-destructing faster than we were able to see it coming. As a community, we need to hold each other accountable to this. As parents, we need to hold each other accountable to this. The old familiar adage is, it takes a village to raise a child. But I would like to add this, and it's first, but it takes us to raise the standard. Thank you, guys. At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Sanders, Chris, and Neil, if you guys would come. We have a Q&A session that we'd like to go into because I know that some of you might like to ask us some questions. And Officer, are you still available for a bit? Sure, wonderful. Come and join us. Like I said, you might have some questions in the audience that are kind of burning on your mind. I'd like to do this very quickly though. If you do not attend Fountain of Life Center or Life Center Academy, can I just see your hands really briefly? Okay, right here. I have a gift for you. This is called Right Click. Right here, and Devon. God bless you, bro. It's a book called Right Click. It's called Parenting in a Digital Media World. A lot of the stats that I pulled tonight are from there, and that book has definitely helped me and shaped my mental kind of acuity on this topic of social media. And if you would like to look that book up, just look online. Right Click, Parenting in the Digital Media World. All right, thank you guys for coming. Does anybody have any questions, maybe for Officer Hazard, Dr. Sanders, maybe for our two student panelists or myself? Yes?
How do you get into the sites if you don't know how to use the digital media stuff?
How do you get into the sites if you don't know how to use digital media? So there is training available for these online. If you just go to YouTube, just basically type in how to create an account on Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, anything you want, and you will find tutorials actually made by the organization to get you on there. Like I said, the edge of digital media is defined by our need to see relevant content, and the businesses want to see you on their social media website so they can advertise to you. One of the apps that we didn't talk about and we had an encounter with is an app called Periscope. You talked about it. Periscope is a live web streaming social media application based off of your geographical location. At any time, any place. I can tune in to people all around the world, in France, singing me lullabies as I go to sleep here in New Jersey. It is unfiltered, it is completely accessible 24/7, and the users on there, there's no filtering of who's on there. It could be predators, it could be live sexual content. I'm talking about sinister stuff. Periscope, if it's on your child's phone or on their iPad or iPod, check it out. Ask them why they have it. Because honestly, I don't see why anybody should have that right now if they're a minor. The users, or I'm sorry, the people who created that app, their motto setting out was this: we want to create the closest thing to transportation or teleportation that we can. Teleportation. You can literally tune in on the West Coast and see what our friends are doing in Pomona Beach. So, Periscope, it's a very, very scary thing. Saw a question over here.
How can you tell, like, because I go into my kids' phones all the time. I mean, their phones, their computers, their tablets. I take their phones at night. They don't have access after 9 o'clock.
Wonderful.
But, like, sometimes, some icons don't look like what they are. So, at that point, I'm like, well, why does this look like it's something other than what it's saying? So how can you tell? I mean,
Sure.
because I'm going in, but I have friends who never touched their kids' phones. And I try to tell them, you guys need to look behind these apps that look like something when you get behind the app, it's actually not what it is. So,
Chris, can you take that and just talk about secret vault apps?
So there's these things called secret vault apps, as Matt said, and what they're meant to do is they're meant to disguise themselves as other apps. So for example, it could look like a calculator on a child's phone. But once that child goes into the calculator, and it functions as an actual calculator, but if they input a specific set of numbers, it then opens up a vault of different things. They can hide apps in there, they can hide pictures in there, they can hide videos, music, all kinds of things. So, in a sense of finding out what app they're using, you can never tell. There's so many of them. But what you can do is you can look up a list of popular ones, and you'll be able to see which ones are being most used by teenagers and see if that's maybe something on a child's phone. But yeah, those are secret vault apps.
Yes.
So you're basically saying that if you go into an app, just say, I don't want to check my son's phone. I do, but I don't know. It's a secret app, and you just say calculator, you go in, and I don't have a username or whatever, I can't get in, I can't see what's going on anywhere. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
So then, how would you go to that?
There is one way,
You know what I mean?
but yeah, go ahead. You want?
Yeah, so I was just going to add, if you go to the App Store or wherever they download their apps from, and you go to the history, you can see what they searched through. And now if you try to look at the history and there's nothing in the history, clearly they deleted the history. Now you can question your child, why did you delete the history? So if you were to go through the history, yes, you can tell that they were searching up the whole apps, and that way you can tell if they have it on their phone.
can you also go through, because I have Verizon, and there's certain things that I can do with Verizon to see what they looked at, what they downloaded, so you can also go through whoever your carrier is.
Correct. Definitely. There's a program.
Don't be
Yeah.
afraid. If you do see it, don't be afraid. I mean, if there's, usually as a parent, you know something's going on, at least I do. So if I see that icons or that app doesn't look right, press it, click on it, and see what comes up, right? And if your child's reacting a certain way, then that's going to lead me more to be more curious about what's going on here. And like Pastor said, I pay the phone bill, phone is in the name, and it will be returned to you once you go into this.
I think that there's so much parents that we are unaware of.
Correct.
You know, I mean, it's so nice to have something don't, you
Yeah.
have to trust his son, and I do go on his phone.
Sure.
But, and he doesn't have, I'm flat out, no Facebook, no, so he doesn't have it. But that's not the point. The point is that we are still unaware of what goes on because we're not in school. We're not, we work. We just, as I asked you, what is this all about?
Yeah.
Sure.
I didn't know
Ask
about it.
as many questions.
Yep. As a parent, you can always control the account that they download the apps from. If it's a Google store, you can have their Gmail account. And like I said, you can have access to that. If it's Apple, they have great family settings on Apple products. I have a question in the back.
If you go into your settings and you manage your apps, would it show up in there? Would it show up?
Some won't.
Okay.
Some actually hide themselves. Pretty sinister things. So, again, this is where the supervision versus surveillance comes in. You don't want to be surveying your child, but you do want to be providing supervision for them. Right here.
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I know for me, I have 5 cell phones that we pay for in my house, and we all have iPhones. And I found that as a parent, the ages of my kids range from teenagers to preteens. And I felt like certain things the preteen didn't need to have access for, but the other ones could. What I did with the iPhones, we share the same iTunes account, which means that any purchases that are made, I see on all the app purchases. When they have their own iCloud account, which allows them storage for their pictures, so they're not all showing up on my phone. But what I've done with the kids, I do the same thing. You guys are, if I have to take the cell phone away, I do. When they were younger, the rule in my house was the cell phones are not allowed in your bedroom. They get charged on the kitchen counter. You get them back when you go to school. So, we have to do things according to their age, according to age appropriateness. Helicopter parent, is a very fine line. And it all depends on your child. And then what I do with the iPhone as well, when I've had it up to here with them being in front of their phone like this all day long, I've taken their cell phone, deleted those apps, put a parent password on it because on the iPhone you can block them from downloading any type of apps, and I've given them a week. No Snapchat, no Facebook, no Twitter, no nothing. All you need your cell phone for is for phone calls and text messages if there's an emergency. And that solves the problem. And I say, when you can pay for your own Verizon bill, then you can get mad at me, but until that's the rule to get over. So
Very true.
that might help, if parents know that.
Yeah, going along with what she said about Apple, and Apple is really good about the parental, control and things like that. You can actually set it so that, especially for younger teens, you have to approve any apps that they download. So if they go into the App Store and try to download an app, you then have to type in your password or whatever it may be for them to download that on your phone. So that can kind of help combat, and goes along with being a helicopter parent. There is a fine line, so it's all parental up to you guys.
For sure. As a parent, you might have a child who's a teenager. I'll get to you. As a parent, you might have a child who's a toddler. And the only thing you're worried about them digital media-wise is if they're teething on your iPhone or not. But for a preteen, you might be going through like a cyberbullying event with a group of young girls. But maybe for your teenager, you're going through whether or not they're sexting their boyfriend or girlfriend. So there's all kinds of different ramifications for different age groups. You have to be very wise as a parent.
My question is for Officer Hazard. The statutes for a child, if a child gets on the maintenance list, is the statute the same as an adult? You're on for the rest of your life?
Well, the judge and the prosecutor will make that determination on how it goes by tiers, and it's very intense. So it'll take me all night to sit here and explain to you what I can there. It goes by tiers, and it goes by the act that was committed. Certain acts have certain degrees which goes by. So, you know, we can be here all day with scenarios of the acts, and that's how it's graded. So they will be charged as an adult if that act is considered that.
Okay, but from your experience, from what you've seen, a tier 1, how long would a child probably be on that?
On the Megs Law Tier 1, my experience, probably, I've yet to see one for years. I've seen one for 1 or 2 years, or I've seen one till they turn 18. Like, it all depends on, like, the severity of the crime. You know, if he's a high risk, it jumps up.
Right.
If he's low risk, you know, they may release him at 18. You never know. I can't make that call. A lot of times when you deal with juveniles, you know, they tend to be lenient. So they may let him say, okay, you turned 18. We want to see you go off to college. We want to see you go. You know, it's not about punishing the person, but depending on the crime. But they want to promote progression. You know what I'm saying? They want to make him continue going on in a good path. So it all depends. Hopefully I answered your question.
For sure, it's the same way with violent crimes as a minor. I was talking with Sheriff Stanfield. She said that in Burlington County, there's a 6-year-old that's on the violent crimes. He killed his dog. Why did he kill his dog? They asked him, and he said it was fun. So, again, it's the severity.
The severity of the crime?
Yeah. Yes?
Do you block social media and you know, like Facebook and or is that something?
I've got a note to check and see. I believe that we do, but I can't say for sure. And again, the problem with that, with us blocking the Wi-Fi aspect of it, they can just switch off the Wi-Fi and use their data plan to deal with that. But we're actually looking at revising our cell phone policy in school in totality because, again, we have good uses for it. There's a variety of different apps that are good towards education. And we want them to be able to access that. We're just looking at the best way to do it. When we have to deal with those issues, it's very difficult as a school to try and monitor all that because there are so many different ways that they can get around it. So it makes it difficult for us.
One thing I found out, because I did a lot of investigating, this is with Verizon, that's who I have for things, that I have to be $5 a month, which is nothing. But
Sure.
I can limit, say, cellular data, if you get a school policy, I'll sign as a parent, my word is my bond, that, okay, they don't have cellular data from 8:30 to whatever, 2:30. But that is an option that I didn't know about. I knew there were other things that I could have done, but that was something that I really. The other thing is, are you going to have perhaps, this is something I'd love to do, is have this conference years with the kids, so they know what their actions can mean, particularly with the officer. You know, like, you can get charged with this stuff, you can be, you know, go to jail. I think that is really important, because sometimes you're your parent, I want to say that, look at this on the news and try to use it for like, you know, go.
For sure.
But I'd love for somebody else said that, sometimes it's.
Yeah, and that's, Pastor Matt and I have been talking about how we continue this because this is great to have a one-time seminar, but things change on a weekly, daily, minute-by-minute basis. And we want to try as much as possible, even though, as has been mentioned, the leading edge is transient. It moves all the time. And it is going to be one of those things that we just have to address. I have been doing a lot of research as well, just trying to figure out what the school policy should be. School policies are all over the map on this. And again, I am not necessarily in favor of a complete ban of the internet because of the useful educational tools. I've been talking with our IT people about how we can lock things down, but if we lock it down too tight, then it's totally useless. So what the answer really is, besides, because we're never getting rid of the internet, it's here forever. What we need to do is we need to begin to teach our students the proper use of the internet. We are going to be implementing a class that we'll be teaching next fall here at LCA that deals with applications, it deals with the proper use of computers and things like that. And part of that class will include an ethical use of the internet. What are the appropriate things that we need to do? Because we're recognizing that it's not getting smaller, it's getting larger.
Right.
What ages are you looking at for that class at LCA?
It's, right now it's going to be 10th grade and up, I think, is an elective. And then as we begin to develop it more, we are already starting at the younger ages, teaching them keyboarding and things like that. And I think we'll be able to open up an aspect as we deal with the just the normal functions of what the hardware looks like, what it means to actually type on a computer keyboard and things like that. It will give us an opportunity for the teacher to be able to go in and say, now look, here's some things I just want to share with you. But again, this is so cutting edge. There's not much out there as far as resources for schools. There's a lot of things that are recognized as somewhat of a resource, but even from the standpoint of what I can and cannot do as a private school is very interesting to deal with. So.
So I was going to ask you, my kids with us. So I do get concerned about the cyberbullying. Not that it's happened to them, but it has happened to some of their friends.
Sure. Oh yeah. And one of the issues that we have is, we have them from 8 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But a lot of things that happen don't happen when they're here. It happens when they're at home. It happens, when they're out with their friends and they get this great idea. Hey, let's do this. So there's a lot we can do. I think as a school, our responsibility is to disciple them. Our responsibility is to try and teach them because we're just not going to be able to control much of the access and those kinds of things. So really for us, it becomes an educational function.
Even in my kind of dual role with private school and public school education, the school cannot be the ones we hold accountable to be the pressure point and the leading force on this. Schools' hands are tied because they're an organization, they're a business, they have liabilities, they have only so much that they can do with your child. So that's why it starts with the parents, and I like what you said, and we need to inform our young people. But to talk about what you said, there are very specific apps that you have to pay to subscribe to. You can shut down cell phone data based off of geographical location. Again, it takes some tinkering, and you need to make yourself aware of that application and its functionality, but you can shut it down based off of a radius and a geographical location. So say your son or daughter is at their school, you can pinpoint that on the map and say, within a quarter-mile radius of this school, I will not allow cell phone data. Now, that will compromise your ability to communicate with them sometimes.
Well, the phone is there, Dr. Day.
Sure. School office is always there. Yeah, correct. And that is the old-fashioned way to do it, and it still works, believe it or not.
And one of the other things that when I was teaching at the university, and we were dealing with this at the university level, at least in the state that I was in, we were prohibited from blocking your ability to get out to the internet. And so there's those kind of complications that we deal with just from the standpoint of freedom of access, freedom of speech, all that kind of stuff. And as Pastor Matt was talking about, there's a lot of research that he has done in dealing with what can we do, what can we not do, and all of that. And it really is, it's frightening the way that our hands are tied in some of these aspects of things. Let me just add also that one of the issues that we have, those of you that are LCA related, before I got here, there was an attempt to have the students turn in their phones at the beginning of the day and they would get them at the end of the day. And we did not get support from the parents on that. We had parents that said, I have to be able to get a hold of my child during the day. You will not take the cell phone from my child. And as a result, the prior administration said, we're not going to cross that bridge. As we begin to look at this more and more, again, I want to try and get as much input as I can to say, what do we want to do as a school to protect as much as we can. But again, it's like trying to nail jelly to a wall, as they say. Every time you think you got it nailed, it starts to fall down. So we're going to be asking the parents to cooperate with us as well as we roll out some plans and things that we can do to protect our children.
I think maybe one or two more questions, and it's just a little past 9. I saw one right here in the back, and then I'll go right here to you.
Yeah, so I kind of answered about it. I guess since this is virtually new, all this stuff, I'd like to know where are we in the public sector and also the private sector? Where do we see this evolving? Is it going in a world of tolerance for cell phones, or do we see it because of what's happening now? Are we locking it down more? I mean, which direction is it going?
It's going both. The things that I've looked at, I've got our accrediting association, the Association of Christian Teachers in Schools. In that network, I've been surveying everyone that I can. And we've got people that do the total ban. You turn in your phone at the beginning of the day, you get it at the end of the day. I've got schools in the network that are saying, hey, we're just not going to regulate it because it's too much of a headache. So it's vast.
I would say that as far as the government goes,
Well, I'm thinking public schools.
sure. Officer Hazard, any insight on that?
With Burlington Township, they block all social media, like we stated. But you're still allowed to go on the internet to do what you have to do. Now with the computers that are inside internal, everything's monitored. So if you put in the key phrase as gun, or if you put in the key phrase as sexual, anything sexual, it automatically, it'll trigger someone in the tech department who will know exactly what computer, what was being said, or what was being searched, and at which point they can go back and see who was on the computer. I mean, that's as far as... It's very difficult to totally shut off the internet, being today's schoolwork and things of that nature. But like I said, that's how we do things there. Cell phones are totally shut off for social media, but the computers inside, they can't do that. So what they have a system that monitors, and any kind of keyword that's not supposed to be placed or put in or searched, it automatically sends an email to the tech person who can go back to the computer, who can go back to that number computer, who in turn will go back to the camera, who can trace, they have their system of how they do it.
Net neutrality is a big thing. I don't know if you know that word. Net neutrality means the internet is free, it's non-regulated. I can tell you that the federal government does not like that. They want to regulate everything. They want to make sure that they know your keystrokes, they know your search patterns, they know where you are when you geographically search. That's what the federal government wants, so they are trying to get reins on that. I think that will trickle down to the state level soon, and then to our local municipalities. It's only a matter of time. Big Brother, as they would say, is a very real thing. And it's something that I believe in the future, the internet will become completely regulated. That's my personal opinion that I based off of personal research. But the internet is a growing monster. It's a living, breathing organism because your need to connect with that person in any sort of fashion is going to dictate how you create the way to do that. So, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, just from a student standpoint, as far as the public school system goes, I have the privilege of also working in our school's technology department. So we block a lot of sites, and when we see different sites becoming popular and we see a lot of traffic going to these websites, they get blocked. The thing is, these websites are coming up as quickly as we're blocking them. So we do want to keep the positive uses of cell phones and the internet, as Dr. Sanders was saying. They have great usage. Google, largest library known to man. We have access to all this information, and that's astounding, and we want to encourage that in our students and use that. But it's hard to draw a line and control them only seeing the good side of the internet and not getting the bad. That kind of helps to add to that.
For sure.
And just to add one more thing, just building off of what you said, and then there's a parent that had a question. What we do in the public schools, well, as a student, there's a program at the Burlington Township High School called the Peer Leadership Program, and it's a very highly selective class that you partake in. It's ran by our student assistance coordinator, so he's our mentor, and I'm lucky enough to be a part of that class. And we do multiple outreaches, we do a lot of outreaches with our freshmen on either sexual behavior and cyberbullying and all of these. We target more of our freshmen, so the freshmen know just what to expect, and again, the legal ramifications and the trouble you can get into. So we do have a peer program at the high school that we do inform our peers.
Excellent, thank you. And then one last question right here in front.
Just to be aware, sometimes Best Buy has classes for,
Yeah.
you just go to the Apple rep.
For sure.
They'll help you, you'll have 2 nights or 3 nights, you'll come in and you'll learn the different apps and things like that, so you can go to Best Buy.
Absolutely.
That's one thing. For you, I know our company looks for schools to go and talk and speak to them about the technology. And so if we need assistance there, our company always.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. One last question right here.
I don't really have a question.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that what your kid does today does affect their future as far as
Correct.
digital print. And there are companies out there that have apps and programs when your child applies for your young adult, finishes college and applies for a job, they can look up what they've done with social media and make a determination on their employment based on that. It's serious.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, and I'll just speak on that really quickly, and then we'll close out for the evening. Even if your child is applying for a scholarship for colleges, some prestigious universities will ask them to surrender their social media accounts. And upon denying them access, they say, okay, well, no money for you. We're investing into you. We're paying you to come to school. So if you're going to be a liability to us and sexually assaulting somebody on our campus, we don't want anything to do with that. And we're going to look at your behavior. We're going to look at that picture that you posted up of you at that party drinking with your friends underage. And we're going to judge you off of that. Even getting jobs. Your employer has the legal right to do that as an employer. They're employing you. They can do that. So thank you so much for that. Why don't we just give a round of applause for our panelists.